Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful new train station, Corso Italia, in a community that I'm honored to serve. My name is Yasir Naqvi. I'm the Member of Parliament for Ottawa Centre, and I'm here with so many good friends who will be introduced along the announcement, but I will be co-emceeing this important announcement with my colleague, Fortier, who is the Member of Parliament for Ottawa Vanier. I'm just really excited to be here along with our mayor and caucus colleagues to join you at Corso Italia to talk about the importance of public transit in our community. Our city is growing, which is exciting, and in order to ensure that our growth is met with the expectations and needs of the community, we need to make sure that we're growing our public transit as well, so that more residents of Ottawa could get from one place to the other, like right here in Little Italy, to access incredible businesses and restaurants through our light rail system, like we're seeing through Trillium Line. I was just meeting some folks the other day who were telling me how excited they are that they can, from the airport now, can take the train and be in downtown Ottawa within 20 minutes or so. That's the kind of investments that we are constantly making in our public transit system. And today's announcement, as you will hear, is our confidence in our city, our mayor, the council, for the work they're doing to make sure that Ottawa remains one of the best cities to live in the country. Madame Fortier.
Merci beaucoup, Yasir, et bonjour tout le monde. Bienvenue à la station Corso Italia. Ça me fait un grand plaisir d'être ici. Je suis même partie d'Ottawa-Vanier en train léger pour venir faire l'annonce avec mes collègues. Et je suis très fière de voir qu'on continue à travailler ensemble pour pouvoir améliorer, évidemment, le système de transport en commun ici à Ottawa. Je veux aussi reconnaître que nous sommes ici rassemblés dans la nation algonquine Anishinaabe et reconnaître les peuples autochtones qui protègent notre terre depuis le passé, le présent et évidemment à l'avenir. Alors, c'est vraiment important aujourd'hui, nous sommes ici parce que nous, comme membres du caucus fédéral de la région de la capitale nationale et surtout d'Ottawa, c'est important de continuer à travailler avec la Ville pour améliorer et s'assurer que les gens d'Ottawa aient un transport actif et un transport en commun qui fonctionne et qui est accessible et qui est abordable. Alors, je pense que la nouvelle que vous allez entendre aujourd'hui fait en sorte qu'on fait notre part et on continue à faire notre part pour s'assurer à augmenter aussi les possibilités de bouger en ville. Alors, je vais maintenant passer le micro à la prochaine personne. Je pense que Yasir, tu vas nous présenter les gens. Merci beaucoup d'être ici aujourd'hui.
Merci. Mona, I want to thank the hard work and the effort of Member of Parliament Anita Vandenbeld, who represents Ottawa West Nepean. Minister David McGuinty will be joining us shortly as well, who's been a strong supporter of public transit in Ottawa. And to talk about the important announcement we're making today, it's a great honor for us to welcome Minister Jenna Sudds, the Member of Parliament for Canada-Carleton.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour à tous. I'm really thrilled to be here with so many incredible colleagues and the mayor here this morning with some really great news for the residents of our amazing city. Avant de commencer, je voudrais remercier tous mes collègues fédéraux et municipaux d'avoir pris le temps d'être présents aujourd'hui avec moi. I'd really like to highlight my colleagues, our Liberal MPs from here in Ottawa, many of whom are here today: Anita, Yasir, Mona, David en route, Chandra, Mary-France, and Francis, who have worked incredibly hard on behalf of the people of Ottawa, most since 2015. And we really are Team Ottawa, working for all of our 1 million residents here today. So today's announcement is a big one. However, let's not forget there's been many announcements along the way since many of us took office in 2015 and since. Less than a year ago, we gathered and shared the great news of an announcement of $176.3 million in housing here in our city. And the year before that, we announced $350 million towards electric buses and infrastructure here in the city to modernize our public transit and meet zero emission targets. L'annonce aujourd'hui est important, mais n'oublions pas qu'il y a moins d'un an, nous nous sommes également battus pour obtenir 176,3 millions de dollars d'aide au logement pour la ville. Et l'année précédente, nous avons obtenu 350 millions de dollars pour acheter d'autobus à zéro émission et d'infrastructures afin d'aider la ville à moderniser son parc d'autobus et à atteindre ses objectifs en matière d'émissions net zero. It is the dedication of your Liberal Ottawa members of Parliament that sees these types of investments come to life for the residents of Ottawa, investments that really matter. Now, I have to say, we are incredibly fortunate to have Mayor Sutcliffe and his council, incredible colleagues to work with day in and day out to ensure the needs of Ottawa residents are met. I have to say, Mayor Sutcliffe and I have been meeting on a very regular basis. It's fair to say we speak multiple times a week. And we work well together. In fact, I'd say we work so well together that we've decided to move forward in creating a working group to actually continue this work, to collaborate on the big things and the little things that matter to the residents of Ottawa. We have challenges. We can all acknowledge that. And I'd say particularly when it comes to revitalizing downtown, and we need to work together and rise to the opportunity, and we are together. So we're here today because our Liberal government believes in the importance of reliable public transit and access to safe and affordable housing. And that includes especially making sure that we're supporting the most vulnerable in our city. We are talking about city building and community building. Communities where people who need access to help can find it quickly, where people can live in neighborhoods that are safe and are affordable, and communities where people can rely on their public transit to get them where they need to go. So whether you're someone who takes public transit daily, whether you take it every now and then, we want to help the city. We want to help build a transit system that works for everyone. So whether you're a growing family looking for a new home, whether you're a new Canadian looking to build your life here in Ottawa, we also want to make sure that we're getting homes built that are affordable and that everyone has a safe place to go. So we've heard from people across the city from Orleans to Canada, out to Barrhaven, downtown, everywhere in between. And there are ways that we can support you to improve the infrastructure that surrounds our city. Housing and public transit are top of mind and are top of that list, and that is exactly why we are here today. So together, myself, Yasir, Mona, David, Anita, Mary-France, Francis, all of your Ottawa Liberal MPs, we are delivering for you today. We are announcing that we have secured a total investment of almost $220 million in the things that matter most to you here in Ottawa. Moi-même, Yasir, David, Mona, Anita, Mary-France et Francis livrons pour vous aujourd'hui. Nous annoncerons aujourd'hui que nous avons obtenu un investissement total de près de 220 millions de dollars dans les choses qui comptent pour les résidents d'Ottawa. The new Public Transit Fund will provide Ottawa with $18 million for the next 10 years, totaling $180 million. This funding will give the city predictability so that they can plan new and necessary investments in our transit system and help relieve some of the pressures that they face. Le nouveau Fonds pour le transport en commun du Canada fournira à Ottawa 18 millions de dollars pour une période maximale de 10 ans, soit un total de 180 milliards de dollars. The other challenge we know that the city is facing is housing. There are people struggling to afford a place to live or don't currently have a place to live. And sadly, we need to do more to ensure that we are supporting the most vulnerable in our city. We believe that no one should be unhoused. Everyone deserves an affordable and safe place to call home. And we continue to make investments in that belief. Today, through 3 different funding initiatives, Ottawa will receive over $39 million to address homelessness and housing needs. Ottawa recevra plus de 39 millions de dollars pour lutter contre l'itinérance et la crise du logement, par le biais de 3 sources de financement différentes. This includes funding through Reaching Home, as well managed by the city, as well as Reaching Home's Indigenous Homelessness Stream, managed by the Ontario Federation of Indigenous Friendship Centres, as well as funding to support the implementation of the city's encampment response plans and immediately provide additional support to people living without homes. More details on these housing investments will be shared tomorrow, so please stay tuned on that. So before I wrap up, there's something that we also would like to address today. There's obviously a lot going on in politics at the moment, but I want to reiterate, the people that are standing up here with me today, my Liberal Member of Parliament colleagues, we believe in the investments that we are sharing today, and we will not stop investing and being there for the people of Ottawa. Pierre Poilievre told Conservative members of Parliament to stop asking for funding for the housing support program for their communities. If you can imagine, his whole point in telling his colleagues to stop asking for that funding was to try to paint it as a failure, instead of ensuring that those communities got the help that they needed. He doesn't care about solving our housing crisis, and he's using this as fuel for his own purposes and to create more 3-word slogans. The only plan he has for housing involves cutting the very programs that are there to support Canadians. Le seul plan de Pierre Poilievre sur le logement consiste à couper les programmes qui sont là pour résoudre notre crise du logement et soutenir les Canadiens. So let's also not forget that just last week, Pierre Poilievre shared his vision of cutting 17,000 public servant jobs a year. Those are jobs here. Those are jobs in our city. We will not stand for senseless cuts. We will fight for a healthy and productive public service that provides amazing careers, serves Canadians well, and helps our broader Ottawa economy. So, folks, you can count on us. You can count on your local Liberal members of Parliament to continue to show up for Ottawa, show up for everyone in our city, and for all Canadians. Notre gouvernement libéral continuera à défendre Ottawa, ses résidences et tous les autres Canadiens. So with that, I'd like to lastly close with a big thank you to Mayor Sutcliffe. Thank you to all of my amazing colleagues, both members of Parliament as well as City Council. Your efforts, your vision, your commitment to the people of Ottawa is inspiring. Let's keep it up. And now I will pass it over to the Mayor for a few words. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. For the record, I voted to have this event indoors. That was my my request. I didn't win on that one, but I'm very delighted to be here today. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec la ministre Sudds, avec le ministre McGuinty, avec ses collègues du Parlement, Anita and Yasir and Mona. Great to see all of you. Thank you very much for being here today. Also pleased to be joined by my colleagues from Ottawa City Council, Tim Tierney, Ralston King, and the chair of our Transit Commission, Glenn Gower. And I'm very grateful today to be sharing in this announcement of almost $220 million in funding for the City of Ottawa. These investments and the collaboration that we expect in the weeks ahead will go a long way to helping the City of Ottawa tackle the challenges that we are facing, especially our fiscal situation. Ces investissements, ainsi que la collaboration que nous attendons dans les semaines à venir, nous aideront grandement à relever les défis auxquels la Ville d'Ottawa fait face. First, as you all know, we have a systemic shortfall in our long-term transit budget, and the $180 million announced today will help to close that gap over the next few years. Le 180 millions de dollars annoncé aujourd'hui nous aidera à combler ce déficit au cours des prochaines années. It will have a direct and beneficial impact on our annual budget for public transit and allow us to continue to invest in and sustain this vital service in the years to come. On the funds to respond to homelessness and encampments in Ottawa, we will have more details in the days ahead, as Minister Sudds said, on how we will apply these resources to support vulnerable residents in our community. But these are vitally important funds as well at a critical time. Minister Sudds and I have been talking regularly for many months, along with other members of the Liberal caucus in Eastern Ontario. And again, I'm grateful for all of their hard work and support. But I wanted to say in particular about Minister Sudds that as a former city councillor, I know she understands deeply the needs of municipalities. She understands the unique challenges that Ottawa is facing. She understands how difficult it has been for us to deliver a municipal budget each year in a time of increasing needs in the community around areas like public transit and homelessness and affordable housing. So I want to thank Jenna for all of her hard work and support in bringing this forward and responding to our needs as a community. And as Jenna said, we are going to continue to work together in the weeks ahead to ensure we are delivering for our residents. There are a number of other issues and opportunities that we have discussed together that are still on our shared agenda. So we're going to continue our collaboration through the working group that Jenna mentioned so we can bring those issues and opportunities forward. So again, I want to say thank you to all of our federal partners for your support. Je tiens à remercier tous nos partenaires fédéraux pour leur soutien. The $220 million in funding that is being announced today will make a big difference to Ottawa as we continue to tackle our financial pressures and strive to truly build a better city for all of our residents. And I look forward to continuing to work together to serve the people of Ottawa. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. And I'd now like to invite Minister McGuinty to say a few words. David?
Sorry, I'm late.
It's okay. Should have taken the train.
Should have taken the train. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for being here today. Bonjour tout le monde. It's great to be here, of course, with Jenna, Yasir, Mona, Anita, and Mark. and our colleagues from Ottawa City Council, thank you for being here. Thank you for your heavy lifting. I know all of the folks who are here worked very hard to make this happen today. You know, it's been over 20 years since I was first elected as a member of Parliament in Ottawa South. The year was 2004. At the time, Ottawa had around 800,000 people. Cela fait plus de 20 ans que je suis député d'Ottawa Sud. C'était en 2004. Ottawa comptait alors environ 800 000 personnes. Facebook had just been invented, and the first rover landed on Mars. I'm dating myself. Fast forward 20 years, and the world has changed quite a bit. Ottawa now has a population of close to 1.5 million people. Our city is growing, and we need to keep up with it. Ottawa compte aujourd'hui près de 1,5 million d'habitants. Notre ville s'agrandit, et nous devons suivre le rythme. We need to make investments to ensure our city is livable and affordable, because we've known for a long time that the more livable a city, the easier it is to attract capital, the easier it is to attract talent, and the easier it is to keep it. And we're in a competition. Canada is urbanizing like the rest of the world, and our census metropolitan area here has to attract and retain the best, the brightest, and the most capital we can. For Ottawa to meet this demand, to grow in a way that includes everyone, our city needs predictability. We need to have a transit system that everyone can use and will use that connects people across the city. Permanent transit funding gives exactly that to our city. So they know we are there as a federal partner to keep investing in our home city. No government has ever done this before. This is something unique to this Liberal government, which has always been a supporter of reliable and affordable public transit. Aucun gouvernement n'a fait cela auparavant. C'est quelque chose d'unique. Notre gouvernement a toujours soutenu les transports publics fiables et abordables. Like the O-Train Trillium line where we are standing now that just opened just this month. People living, working, visiting the city can get from downtown to Riverside South and Finley Creek in less than 35 minutes and connect to the Ottawa International Airport via South Keys. I'm particularly proud that our government stepped in at a time when the airport was short of money during the pandemic and found $6.4 million additional dollars to make sure the airport had its own light rail station. In January 2023, we invested $350 million to purchase 350 zero-emission buses for Ottawa's bus fleet. This is the future. As we continue to grow, as we build more homes, and as more people continue to choose Ottawa as home, we need a federal government that will invest in Canadians. That's what we believe in, because I believe we get it. We'll keep collaborating with our partners and investing in infrastructure projects across the country that make a real impact for Canadians today and for generations to come. Thank you to everyone who's involved with this important work. Thank you to the citizens of Ottawa who have also been patient as this particular project has been completed and remains under construction. We're getting there. Our city is in a good place. We're competitive. We've got to keep building and look out for each other. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, David. Thank you, David, Mark, Mona, Jenna, all the colleagues who are here. Thank you for your remarks and announcing such important over $200 million worth of investment in our city that's going to benefit our residents, our businesses across the city. I see that you guys are really cold right now, so I'm just saying this press conference is over. Thank you very much. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you've got a lot of questions to ask. So we will now move on to that segment so that our friends from media can ask those questions. Genevieve is standing right behind you. Want to wave? She's got the microphone, which you can then use to pose questions to any one of us. Merci beaucoup.
Oui, donc nous allons maintenant commencer la période de questions. Pour les médias qui sont parmi nous, vous pouvez venir me voir juste à côté. Veuillez vous mentionner, vous introduire ainsi que votre média. Un rappel que vous avez le droit à une question et un suivi. For the media who is with us,
Do you want to come closer?
Yeah.
Oui,
Oh.
un peu plus proche, peut-être pas ici.
So for the media who's here, just line up behind me. A reminder to ask one question, one follow-up, and introduce yourself and your media outlet. So who wants to go first.
This will be for the mayor. I wanted to start by asking how far this announcement goes towards meeting the goals of your Fairness for Ottawa campaign, given that you were asking for, operating funding to make up the loss from transit ridership, and this seems to be strictly capital.
So what we've been working on for some time now is to ensure that the funding that was announced today will have a direct impact on OC Transpo's budget in the years ahead. So it will help with the funding challenges that we've been talking about during the 2025 budget process, and as we've been talking about the long-range financial plan for transit. So the $180 million will have a direct budget impact on the City of Ottawa and will help to cover the gap that we've been speaking of.
Okay, and I'll ask one follow-up actually to probably Minister Sudds. I just wanted to ask if you view this as sort of the sum total of what Ottawa can expect in the near future for transit. I mean, we've been looking for $36 million to fill this gap that we have in our budget right now. We've been looking for operating funding. Are you open to those possibilities, or is this all we can expect for the near future?
Thank you for the question. So first of all, I would say I think today's announcement is, it's a substantial investment in our transit system as well as in housing and homelessness. As I mentioned earlier, the mayor and I have been working hard for a number of months, looking at a variety of areas. As I mentioned, moving forward with a working group because we know there's more to do. So absolutely, there's other issues. I look to the opioid epidemic and what we're seeing, particularly, I would say, downtown. We're seeing folks unhoused in our city, and we know that there's more to do. So all that to say, there's certainly more things that we're working on and certainly more that we will be delivering.
My question is for local MPs. Sure. My name is Jenna. I'm with CTV News. And my question is for local MPs, Mr. Naqvi, anyone is open to answer. I'm wondering, since Mr. Chandra Arya is also a fellow Ottawa MP, what's your reaction to his disqualification, and what does that tell you about the race?
Thank you for the question, and absolutely, Chandra is one of our cherished colleagues. I can't comment on a decision of the Liberal Party. Obviously, that's a decision that's been made and that we're waiting for more details on.
Okay, and my follow-up is Mr. Carney lived in Ottawa for a few years too, and he says he'll run in the elections regardless of the leadership race. Have any of you spoken to him about where he might run here?
Well, I don't want to speak for my colleagues. I have not asked him that particular question. All that to say, I am very much excited about Mr. Carney running as our next leader and our next Prime Minister of this country. I think we're at a really exciting time, frankly, in this country, and we need leadership. We need to be able to count on our next Prime Minister to have the expertise and the ability to guide us through the affordability challenges that we know so many Canadians are facing, and I feel very confident in Mr. Carney's ability to do so.
Thanks. Elise Gurrow with the CBC. My first question, Minister Sudds, I guess is for you. I'm just hoping that you can answer kind of definitively, why is there no money for operating funding?
Sure. So historically, the federal government does not fund operations. That is the role of the provincial government. However, what you are seeing today, frankly, is quite historic. This is long-term, predictable funding for the City of Ottawa, for transit, that enables them to think big, to think for the future, to think about the possibilities. Undoubtedly, it does mean that some of the things they might have been thinking about doing, they now can do. Some of the things they plan to do with their own dollars, they now realize there's more money on the table from the federal government. So I think it opens up a lot of opportunities for the city.
And Mr. Mayor, so you just heard there that the federal government again saying that operating funding is a provincial responsibility. Are you going to push harder on your provincial counterparts to try and get that money, seeing as how we have a $36 million hole in the budget this year?
So just to be clear, and in response to your colleague's question as well, I want to underline the fact that the money that's being announced today will have an impact on the City of Ottawa's budget. It will help to close the gap that we've been talking about in our annual budget. So we made sure of that, and a lot of work has been done behind the scenes with our city finance officials and with federal government officials to make sure that the funds that are being announced today can be applied to the gap that we've been talking about. We started this year with a gap of about $120 million in our transit budget. We found ways to narrow that gap. We think, we originally identified the gap for next year as being about $140 million. For the year after that, a similar number. So these funds over the next few years will help to close that gap. We can make that work. I've had regular conversations with the provincial government over the past few months. They have said every single time they've been asked, Premier Doug Ford, Finance Minister Peter Bethlen-Falvey have said, if the federal government's in, we will be in as well. So I expect that, notwithstanding that there's going to be an election called within 48 hours, that in the weeks ahead, we will be able to work with the provincial government on a solution for Ottawa as well.
And sorry, just because you said, if the federal government's in, we're in, but the federal government just said it's not in, at least not right now. So.
Well, so what I'm saying is we have, and this is the very important part of the announcement, the money that's being announced today will have an impact on the gap in our budget. So that's what we were looking for. It doesn't matter whether it's applied explicitly to operating funds or it's applied in a way that covers expenses that we have that we had budgeted for, and that we'll be able to move money around in our budget in order to close that gap. So we have found a solution that does have a direct impact in closing the gap in our OC Transpo budget, and that's what matters. What the money is directly applied to is less important than the fact that we're receiving money that will help us close this gap over the next few years. So in going to the province of Ontario, I think they'll be prepared for that, and we'll be looking to the province to support us as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
A question for you, Minister Sudds. Oui, Frédéric Pepin, Radio-Canada, pour la ministre Sudds. Qu'est-ce qui arrive s'il y a des élections fédérales dans les prochains mois? Est-ce que la Ville d'Ottawa va toucher à une partie du 180 millions? Vous parlez de financement pour les 10 prochaines années, mais s'il y a une élection fédérale déclenchée en mars, qu'adviendra-t-il de ce financement?
Ça, c'est vraiment important. Comme tu as dit, peut-être il y a une élection dans les prochains 2, 3, 4 mois. Et c'est nous, les libéraux, le gouvernement libéral, qui aujourd'hui dit qu'on veut faire ces investissements sur le transit. Je ne sais pas qu'est-ce que Pierre Poilievre veut dire. I don't know what Pierre Poilievre would do. And that is exactly why it's incredibly important that people see us, this government, making these important commitments to the City of Ottawa, to the residents of Ottawa. And obviously, they'll have a choice as they go to the next election.
OK. Mr. McGuinty, I have une question pour vous en français de mes collègues de la colline. M'ont demandé de vous poser sur... on aimerait avoir votre réaction sur... Est-ce que le gouvernement va avoir le temps de mettre en place les recommandations de la juge Hogg à quelques mois d'un vote sur la chefferie du Parti libéral, mais aussi des élections générales?
Bien, écoute, demain, on attend Mme Justice Hogg qui va publier ou va faire public son rapport suite à son travail depuis quelques mois quand même à la Commission sur l'ingérence étrangère. On attend avec impatience les recommandations. Apparemment, c'est un très long rapport. Donc, demain matin, j'aurai accès pour la première fois aux détails et je vais tenir une conférence de presse suite à quelques heures de lecture. Donc, j'aurai beaucoup plus à dire à ce moment-là.
Merci.
Merci.
Hi, Marlo Glass from the Ottawa Citizen. My question is for Mayor Sutcliffe and Minister Sudds. Just want to know a little bit more about this working group we've heard of. How does it differ, I guess, from our standard day-to-day government communications?
I'll let the minister speak to it as well, but what I foresee is, during the conversations that Minister Sudds and I have had over the last few months, we've identified a number of different areas and opportunities, issues that the city's facing. I've spoken to her about some of the challenges that we're tackling as a community right now. And I think there's an opportunity for us to get the right people around the table, both at the political and the bureaucratic level, and work together on some solutions. So we're going to meet on a regular basis. We're going to talk about those challenges, and I expect there will be more to say as we tackle those various challenges together. But I think there's a willingness to work together and to collaborate and to get the folks who are working within the federal government engaged with the people who work in the bureaucracy at the City of Ottawa, working together on some of those opportunities and solutions.
Yeah, great answer, Mr. Mayor. And not much more to add, frankly. I think as we reflect over what the various issues that the Mayor and I have been speaking about over the last number of months, we recognize the value of pulling in more voices, more perspective, more expertise to those conversations, as there are more issues to work on. So it's simply doing that, frankly, so we can do more of this, making more investments in Ottawa.
Great. And my next question is also for you, Minister Sudds. Given that this is a 10-year funding commitment, and as you said, politics is moving very quickly these days, how might an upcoming federal election potentially impact this 10-year funding?
Well, I think it's really important, first of all, today to ensure that our government makes this commitment. This is a long-term commitment into our transit system and infrastructure here in Ottawa that will benefit the residents of Ottawa for decades to come. And so important that we make the commitment. I also think it demonstrates to the residents that they have choices. We have seen very clearly from Pierre Poilievre his ambition to make cuts across the board when it comes to programs and services that this government has put in place. And I have no doubt that he would try to do the same if he's given the opportunity. So I think the residents of Ottawa have clear choices. They have 8 Liberal MPs who have worked very hard for them for a number of years and delivered in big and small ways to ensure that they have the supports that they need, and the city is supported as well in the programs that they deliver. And so now, I think as we head into some uncertain months and, of course, an election upcoming, this is just one more way in which we are delivering for Ottawa.
Thank you.
Allô, Charles-Antoine Gagnon avec le droit. Monsieur Sutcliffe, vos négociations concernant les édifices fédéraux et l'impôt foncier que le gouvernement fédéral vous doit à la ville plutôt, vous en êtes où dans la négociation là-dessus?
Les négociations sur lesquelles?
Le PILTS.
Ah oui. Alors, moi j'ai mes opinions sur ça, mais j'espère que cet dossier fera une part des conversations à l'avenir proche avec le gouvernement fédéral. C'est quelque chose que nous négocions chaque année. Alors, j'espère qu'à l'avenir, il y aura les fonds appropriés pour Ottawa, pour les édifices fédéraux au centre-ville et partout à Ottawa, parce que c'est très important pour notre budget. Alors, ça c'est peut-être une part de la conversation à l'avenir.
Vous n'avez pas inclus ça dans votre groupe de travail?
Peut-être, oui. Je vais avancer cet dossier si c'est possible, oui. Je vais toujours lutter pour qu'Ottawa reçoive sa juste part.
Est-ce qu'on peut avoir une réponse du fédéral là-dessus?
Elaine McGregor, Centertown Buzz. For the mayor, I guess, will the discussions that you're continuing to have with Ms. Sudds include discussions about the proposals from the Ottawa Board of Trade and from the Downtown Revitalization Task Force?
Yes, absolutely. So downtown is one of the most important issues, downtown and the Byward Market, are among the most important issues that we can tackle together. Minister Sudds, MP Yasir Naqvi, MP Mona Fortier, and I have had multiple conversations about this. And so we'll continue to have those conversations as part of that group, absolutely. OK. Est-ce que vous voulez une réponse
sur le fédéral, sur le PIL, tu vois, oui.
Oui.
Taxe foncière sur les édifices fédéraux.
Wait.
La Ville demande d'avoir de l'argent. Il dit que le fédéral, depuis des années, ne paie pas sa juste part au chapitre des taxes foncières. Est-ce que vous en êtes où là, pour parler avec la Ville?
En français, OK.
You can go in English.
OK. Ouais. Maintenant, cet enjeu est devant la Cour fédérale. The PILTs right now are in front of the federal court for decision, so hard to comment on that piece. However, as the mayor has said, there is an annual process which we undergo to discuss, to negotiate the terms of the PILTs, and so that work will continue. I know this is an important issue to the mayor. I would argue the average resident doesn't probably know the ins and outs of this, but I think ultimately what's important is the collaboration, ensuring that collectively we are delivering for the residents of our amazing city. Merci.
So I just want to clarify, though, because there were a few questions about it earlier. I know I don't want anybody leaving here with the perception that the transit funds that we receive today are not going to have the impact that we need them to on the budget in the next few years. They will. I want to be clear about that. The budget gap that we identified at the beginning of this year of $120 million, $140 million next year, $140 million the year after that, that budget gap was made up of a number of different elements, including operating funds, capital funds, other projects that we're embarking on. So when we receive funds like this from the federal government, frankly, cash is cash. We can apply it, and it closes the gap. So it doesn't have to be for something specific. If it's going towards the kinds of things that we had identified in our budget that we were going to spend money on in the future, it helps us close the gap in our budget. So for me, this is a big help towards our operating budget for OC Transpo for the next few years. And it gives me confidence to know that going forward, if we receive the similar support from the provincial government, that going forward, we will be able to continue to grow and invest in OC Transpo and in public transit in Ottawa without having to make much more difficult decisions. So just to be clear about that. Oh, oui, alors je ne sais pas encore parce qu'il faut collaborer avec le gouvernement fédéral pour déterminer exactement où les fonds seront déplacés, mais j'espère que oui, j'ai beaucoup de l'espoir. Et si nous avons des fonds pour l'avenir, pour les chaque 2, 3, 4, 5 années, c'est possible de trouver des solutions court terme pour le budget de 2025. Alors, ce n'est pas nécessaire d'avoir spécifiquement une solution pour 2025. Peut-être c'est possible, mais savoir que nous avons les fonds pour les prochaines années, ça nous donne la confiance de trouver des solutions court terme pour 2025. Yeah, I hope so. So, you know, receiving this kind of money from the federal government, $180 million over 10 years, knowing that it's going to be there for the next few years, in particular when we have these big budget shortfalls, that gives us the flexibility to know that we can find solutions in the 2025 and 2026 budgets, even if the money that is identified today doesn't go specifically towards a particular area of the budget. we can find ways to solve those challenges internally and bridge the gap until we're receiving the funds, if that's necessary. But the finance officials at the city will work with the federal officials to determine exactly how the money will be applied, and we'll know fairly soon exactly which budgets it'll be applied to and which expenditures. But we know that it gives us enough of a solution that we can have confidence to know that the gap is being closed in the immediate future.
All right, that concludes today's question period. Thank you so much.
Merci.